Okay, let's go ahead and start this off. Welcome, everybody. This is the briefing of the Mason County Commission for the week of November 22nd, 2021. We're going to go ahead and open up with support services and Mark Neary.
Good morning, Commissioner Netherland. I've got a couple items for you this morning. First is with Diane. It's going to talk about a new lease for Veterans Affairs.
Good morning, Commissioners. So I'm asking that the lease agreement with North Mason Resources up in Belfair be put on the agenda for approval for 2022. It offers office space to the Veteran Service Officer up there, and it's $350 per month payable from the Veterans Assistance Fund.
Historically, we've always had no problem with this. Is there any issue now, Commissioners?
Absolutely not.
Hearing none, let's go ahead and have it put on the agenda, please.
Thank you.
Next, Jennifer's got some financial policy updates for us.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so the financial policy updates, these have been ran through the audit committee and also sent out countywide. So the changes are in track changes on our current policy. The first changes that I want to go over are on page 6 and 7. And this is to the, on item 6, we had the internal allocation costs. So I expanded this to show internal rates calculated for the budget. I do have one change on here to the internal rates on this sheet. Under the sentence, the rate shall be prepared using actual data from the previous full prior year. That's a little redundant. So I would like to ask to take out the word prior on there and just say the rate shall be prepared using actual data from the previous full year. Is everybody okay with that change?
Any heartburn, Commissioners?
Nope.
Nope, go ahead.
Great. And so I went ahead and expanded on the internal allocation and showing that as section A. And then it also included in here the information technology, how those rates are calculated, and the equipment rental and revolving. So any questions on those changes?
Nope.
I see none.
Okay, and then on page 13, I also included the wording fee calculation should be reviewed by the budget office or auditor's office before being charged to customers. We should get into the habit of doing that with all of our rates that are sent out to anyone internal or external.
No heartburn?
Nope.
Okay, we continue.
Page 9, we included under section 7, grants and federal or state funding. Continuing education for state and federal grants is expected for all grant managers within the county. And the auditor's office will be hosting periodic grant classes to the county, or grant training as well. So it's not just outside grant training, but we wanted to make sure that grant managers stay up on their continuing education, whether it be internal or external grant training. Questions, comments on that?
Commissioner Trask, go ahead.
Oh, I just said that's awesome. I think that's a great idea.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it'll really help with our internal controls, I think, if we're all on the same page and doing all of our grants in the same manner. Page 14, under purchasing, vendors may receive funds by electronic funds transfer, EFT, by filling out the authorization form provided by financial services. A pre-note confirmation of the vendor's banking information will be sent to their bank prior to any payment being made. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. The last change is on page 16, and this is just to show the under minimum level fund balance. The general fund's long-term fund balance target is a year-end unassigned fund balance of 15 to 25% rather than 15 to 20% of annual expenditures in accordance with the county's financial reserve and contingency policy, resolution 2021-034. So just that update to keep us in compliance with what our fund balance policy says. So questions, comments, anything on the changes to the financial policy?
Commissioner Trask, anything from you?
Looks good.
Commissioner Shutey?
Not for me, thanks.
Same here.
Great, thank you. So I'll put this on the December 7th action agenda then.
Okay.
Thank you. So the next thing that I have is the American Rescue Plan Act, the spreadsheet showing where we're at right now. And if you're okay, I'll share my screen.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so last week we got together and updated, our ARPA group got together and updated this spreadsheet to show what was on the spreadsheet previously, but we cleaned it up a little bit and are showing the categories that each ARPA approved item falls under, and then the total requests as well. So we have a grand total of ARPA requests of $18,346,180, and the board has approved so far. And this is verbal approvals as well. So $6,028,111. So the items in this light green have been verbally approved and not approved on the action agendas yet. So that leaves us with $456,340 to allocate out of our $6,484,451, our first round of funding. And so we'll get that additional round of funding next year. So the total available with both rounds of funding is $6,940,790. So any questions so far, comments?
Looks like none. Wait, Sharon?
Sorry about that. I was talking to myself. I sent you the WASAC budget. So I think there's just an additional, what is it, $1,000 for the ARPA that we could charge to ARPA for WASAC's assistance.
The ARPA dues.
Right.
Yeah, $4,000. Is that what you said? You kind of broke up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at the the $4,000, and that's for the 4 years of assistance with the ARPA.
Okay, so we can, commissioners, if you're okay with that, we can include that on the spreadsheet.
I'm good.
Where would that fit in? Under C?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that. I would think. I'll check on it and let you know.
I think C. And I think that's what we discussed at the WASAC meeting.
Okay, under revenue loss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So the other things that I wanted to talk about, so the treasurer, and this is included in your packet, the treasurer would like to take $75,000 of her $200,000 approved amount. And this is right here under A, support public health response. She would like to take 75,000 and move that to businesses instead of individual households for property tax help. And I don't know if she's on here. I didn't notice.
I'm here.
Okay, did you want to speak to that, Lisa?
Yeah, so under ARPA, we can support local businesses with other costs, which is what delinquent property taxes would fall under. We have currently, I asked for 75,000 originally. It's closer to 65 at this point. We've had some paid. But it would help bring the personal property taxes, which is the equipment that they use for their businesses, up to date. The real property, we didn't need as much as we had anticipated. There may be some more coming in, but there's plenty of money there to cover what expenses that we may cover moving forward in the foreclosure process. So I think this is a good use of ARPA money as well. Mark had a question about whether or not these businesses could have applied for other funds. And so we would be adding an attestation on the application form saying that they have not applied for other ARPA funds funding to cover these payments. So I think that will help out too. I just hate to see I hate to see putting some of these small businesses that may still be struggling into a foreclosure situation because they haven't paid their personal property taxes.
I would agree with that. I think that's a great idea.
Mr. Schutte?
Yeah, I think, Lisa, if you're comfortable pulling this out of the $200,000 and you're comfortable with the vetting process that you're going to have in place, then I'm supportive as well.
Okay,
Agreed. All three.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move forward with getting that information out as soon as you get it approved.
Great, thank you, commissioners. So I'll show that on the spreadsheet as two separate items, then 125,000 for the property tax for individuals and then 75,000 for businesses. Is there anything else that you wanted to go over on this spreadsheet right now?
Commissioners, anything?
Not at the moment.
Great, then we'll continue to keep this updated and brief you as we add things.
Okay.
And I'll stop my share. So the last thing that I have is an update for tomorrow for the resolution setting the public hearing for the budget amendment in December, on December 21st. I did add $8,678 in incoming revenue and expenditures to Superior Court, and it's line item 8 now. It's from AOC, and so I did update that already. I didn't think that you would have an issue with them expending revenue that was coming in, so I just wanted to
I don't think so either, but let's ask commissioners, any issue or heartburn with that change?
No, is this related to Blake, or what's the, I know you said AOC money, but is it for something specific?
Yes. I'm not sure if it's related to Blake. Just looking for my backup. All right. I think it's all related to COVID, I believe.
And this is specifically for Superior Court?
Yes, for Superior Court, for bailiff, and then IT, I believe it's computer equipment.
So I guess the only question that I would have, and maybe you can run this down, or Mark can, but is, are we anticipating a similar appropriation for district court?
I think that we have some AOC funding in here for district court already. And it's probably similar. But I can find out for sure.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And then the last thing I forgot to, inserted that line and then I forgot to change my numbering on the detailed sheet. The line numbers are out of alignment now. So I'll make that change for before tomorrow and give it to Mackenzie for online. So that's all that I have, commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mark, what else you got?
I believe that's it. Going to move on to David Windom.
Hey, commissioners, do you have any questions or comments or anything for Mark?
I don't.
Not right now. I'm sure we will later.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next up we have Community Services. Dave Windom. Keller, you sitting in for Dave?
I am.
Welcome. What do you got for us today?
Good morning. First up is Alex.
Morning, Alex.
Morning, commissioners. So I just got one item for you. So as you may recall, we were scheduled back in August, I think it was, for a kind of staff training event downstairs with public health. I think we were trying to schedule it the same day as our DCD day upstairs, but that was canceled due to COVID. We had rising cases, just kind of a lot going on. So we put the public health one on hold and we'd like to get this back on the schedule. Dave is hoping that we can schedule this for December 16th. We've kind of done some brainstorming with our management team here, and we're thinking we could just keep this to an afternoon session. So a lunch and then closure of our office from around noon to 4. So just bringing this to you to hear out any concerns. Hope to get approval so we can kind of start planning on that.
Any issue with that, commissioners?
No issue here.
No, great idea.
Yep.
Perfect.
Right.
Well, that's all I had. Does this go to action agenda then because we're changing business hours or?
Diane, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't think your hours are set by resolution, so I don't think so. I'll check to make sure.
I think we should announce it at the meeting so that they know to the public, but I don't remember us ever doing it through a vote of the commission.
I think it was
Yeah, I
just
know the
press
upstairs
release.
offices you
Yeah.
did. I'd make sure too you change your website.
Commissioner Schutte, you were speaking? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think we've just done it as an announcement, as like a press release type
That's what I thought.
deal.
Okay. We'll work on that.
Thank you. We do have
Thanks.
a meeting tomorrow if you wanted to get a press release in there.
We have a little bit of time. I could get it on our 7th one too. It's a little closer too.
Nope, that works.
Okay.
Okay, what else you got, Kel?
I've got I spoke too soon and I didn't knock on wood when I told you we had gone a whole year without any turnover. But we just got a notice from Christian Miller in our building department that he is leaving us for another agency. So I would like to post and fill that position. He was a pretty much full-time inspection out in the field. And so we'd like to replace that, but open it up for, plans examiner, building inspector position, 1 through 4.
Any heartburn with that, commissioners?
Done for
Nope.
me.
Okay, let's make it happen.
All right. And then lastly, I've got Marissa.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. So the department is bringing forth some proposed amendments to Title 17, the zoning code. The PAC heard this at their November meeting and recommended approval to pass on to you. The ask is that it's approved to put it place on the December 7th action agenda to set a public hearing for January 18th. The particular amendments have to do with the heights of buildings in the UGAs and getting rid of the maximum height limit of 55 feet. And the department is proposing that because They have to go through a special use permit review anyways, so the public is involved. The hearing examiner makes a decision. So the appropriate heights and is going to be decided in a special use permit hearing anyways. So we're asking that the max of 55 feet, which is in the code right now, is removed. And then the second proposed change was the allowance of a side yard setback reduction in the UGAs. We don't have a process for it right now, whereas we do in the rural areas. We have an administrative variance. So we're looking to add language in there that allows a building administrative variance that can reduce what the standard limits are in there already, as long as those reductions meet fire and building code, which is really what's important to us when we're looking at side yard setbacks other than critical areas. And then the third proposed change is in regard to accessory dwelling units. One of the changes is getting rid of the language that requires you to place an ADU within 150 feet of the main residence. And then the second one is getting rid of language outside of shoreline jurisdiction that requires the owner to reside in the ADU or the main residence. And those are the basic changes that we're looking at, and just asking to be able to place that on the December 7th action agenda to set a public hearing.
Commissioner Schutte.
Yeah, thanks, Marissa. Generally supportive of the changes. I think they make sense. Did the Planning Commission receive comment when they heard these? And if so, what was the nature of the public comment?
The only comments we received was from PUD 3, and they were pretty much supportive. They were really supportive of the getting rid of the 55-foot height limit, supportive of the side yard setback, and they didn't have much to say on the ADU, but the letter was generally supportive of the changes, and that's the only comments we got.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Trask.
I think it's good. I look forward to the 7th and hearing, if there's other comments or concerns from people.
Same here. We look forward to it. We'll go ahead and continue to move forward, Marissa.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kel?
I think that's it, but I'll just give Casey or Lydia a chance to, I don't see Lydia on here, but I see Casey, so just in case I didn't see their packet information, but otherwise I think we're okay.
Casey, you have anything?
Nope, I'm just listening in.
All right, thank you. All right, commissioners, do you have any questions for Kel?
I have a couple comments, I guess, and maybe asking for your participation. So the Coastal Caucus and the Timber Counties, we met at the WASAC County Leaders Conference last week. And there are a couple of things that I think that we need to keep an eye on, and this would also be for probably Alex too, and Marissa, or whoever you think is necessary for this. There are the TDRs, the transfer of development rights. They are probably going to put together a committee of all of our surrounding counties, and so I think it would be better to be at the table, to be a part of the conversation. What's that saying? It's better to be at the table than a part of the meal. So let's make sure that we're there for that. Also, Hillary Franz started talking about a group that they're putting together. It's called the Wildfire Neighbors. And so we should probably try to get to be a part of that as well. I think it's awesome that they're putting these committees together and they're asking for rural counties input. And so I think let's be a part of that conversation. And as I get more information, I'll share it with you also.
Great.
Anything else for Kel? All right, Kel, thank you very much. Appreciate you stepping in for Dave today.
No problem.
Have a great one. let's see, do we see her on here? I do not see her on here, Loretta or staff. So let's go ahead and take a break to 9:45. And we'll come back for Public Works. Does that work for you, commissioners?
Good with me.
Okay, let's do that. Thanks. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're going to go ahead and return to session again, and we're going to open back up with Public Works, Loretta Swanson, Utilities and Waste Management. Loretta?
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
First up, Richard has a news release about exciting new solid waste rates.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I have a habit of not being heard here. All right. 2022 solid waste rate increases. Per Mason County Resolution number 61-13, disposal rates at all Mason County transfer drop box stations will increase by 6.5% beginning February 1st, 2022. As directed by resolution number 61-13, fees will be increased each year by the amount of the October to October CPIU for the Olympia metropolitan area. This increases cover annual cost increases experienced by the county to operate and maintain the Shelton, Visport, Union, and Belfair transfer and drop box station locations.
Just as a comment, that's a heck of a jump. But that's what's happening in the world right now. And all of our costs are going to go up with inflation. I just don't see a way to get around it. We don't have a large reserve in that particular pot to be able to just ignore it. Commissioner Schutte, you have a comment or any idea? Commissioner Trask?
No, we talked about we had an economic forecast at the WASAC conference, and things are going to get interesting.
Yeah, the biggest fear is this is the beginning of big changes to come. We as a commission may need to look at that, some of those resolutions that we have, because we could be looking at very, very large increases, larger than this 6% in the very near future. So I don't know, let's just keep that in the back of our minds. But without any of that now, everybody's comfortable moving forward?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
You bet.
Thank you, Richard. And Richard is bringing forward a briefing next week or week after, Richard?
I think it's next week.
Okay. To take a look at some of the timing of the future rate increases for solid waste.
And this one takes effect in February, right?
This will take effect in February, and that's partially due to, that's why I'd like to change the CPI, how we calculate this back to the August CPI numbers instead of October. One, it comes so late that I've already submitted a budget. And I mean, this increase here really got our attention. So I'm already thinking of a budget amendment before I get the budget approved, just based on that. And the other is our hauler, they're required a 75-day notice so that they can get all their rate filings into the UTC on time. And normally we would have had this been effective January 1st, but their Mason County garbage is getting pushed back from the UTC. So they're asking that we maintain the 75-day notice. And that's another reason I'd like to just push it back to August so that we can make these rate changes effective at the first of the year. And it's all above board. Everybody knows what's going on. And it helps me develop my budget early.
So Richard, you said pushback. Are they getting as far as the rate increase or the timing?
Just the timing of it, because they have to file with the UTC, and the UTC has been getting a lot of these where they're getting everything kind of at the last minute. And they've said, you know what, no, we need our time that we're allotted per the RCWs and WACs, and it's all built in. So they're just pushing it out, you know, Mason County Garbage is just holding the line that they're being told to hold. And so we've already gave them the notice so that they could go into effect February 1st. We gave them the heads up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And commissioners, next up, we just had a quickie report out on storm cleanup from last week, and Mike is in a little bit late this morning. He's out taking a look at some other items, but the long and short of it is that there was not a lot of storm damage in terms of trees down. Certainly the typical cleanup in terms of leaves and brush and debris that needed to happen and was underway, but no significant slides to report or anything along those lines. We also went out and inspected the work on the Skokomish Valley Road there at the dips to verify that things are performing as expected and as designed, which they are. So we're continuing to monitor that as well. And also in the Skoke, taking a look at some of those other areas where we've got water over the roadway and that are creating the closures, and Mike and team continue to look at solutions for those, some hopefully fairly simple solutions that we can implement before next rainy season, but that will take some certain permit coordination and conversations with landowners, and so we're gelling on that and moving that along as well. Any questions, commissioners, or follow-ups from you regarding last week's winds and rain? And we've had lots of stormwater complaints, as you might imagine, so quite a bit of coordination with Cal and the building department and their team, and how to respond and who's on first, taking a look at and responding to various stormwater complaints. So that continues.
Commissioner Trask, questions?
Just a comment. The Skokomish Valley was brought up at our conference, and as one of the hot spots. I feel as though we were very fortunate. Many of the folks up north had to airlift in medications to people.
Yeah.
So it was quite the storm, and so I appreciate you guys doing everything that you can and that you have done. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I was happy to see that the infrastructure bill has some nice packages for FEMA and emergency response. So we'll want to take a look at that more closely and make sure that we're making the most of those funds.
Commissioner Schutte, this is your area out there. Got anything?
Yeah, no, just appreciate the watchful eye on things. Always trying to stay in touch with the community members out there to give them notice and so they can plan and prepare. They're strong people out there. They're well versed in how the river works and what they need to do, and so just appreciate that continued partnership.
Thank you. I guess the other good news to report on that is that we're about to re-engage on restoring the rock wall up out of Eels Hill. So have been working with a landowner there to make sure that we secure the property rights that we need to get that work completed. And so I think we're about ready to get back to work there as well.
Okay. What else do you have?
That is it for me, commissioners.
On the building department, any questions or comments, commissioners, before we move on to the next part? I have one on Highway 3, right in the middle of Belfair, going through town. There's a little restaurant called the Rice Bowl. Every year in front of that, it becomes a very, very dangerous water hole where people they drive around it to avoid it, and it actually creates a very dangerous situation. I'm wondering if you could look into it with the state to see if maybe we can put a bigger grate with larger holes over that area, because quite often I've gone out there and I've moved away debris for water to go back into the piping there, where it sometimes gets stopped completely. So if you could reach out, I'll bet you'll find we've had a few accidents there. And also, I guess while I was away, we had another accident on Sand Hill and that at Highway 3, that area. Could you still continue to look at that lighting?
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner. Mike and Dave are meeting with representatives from DOT either today or tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. And DOT's been chewing on this as well. And I believe that they both have some potential low-cost solutions for that intersection. So as we hear what their thoughts are, we'll report back.
Okay, thank you.
Moving ahead on that.
Okay, that's all I had on that. Are you ready to move on to the next part?
Sure.
Let's do her.
All right. So commissioners, we are at a milestone. We're excited to say that we are at the point where design has been essentially completed for an extension of the Belfair sewer. And with us today is Michael Lubavitch with Kennedy Jenks, and he's here to present a high-level overview of where we started, where we are now today, and make sure that we answer any questions you may have and resolve any outstanding issues before we put this project out to ad. And so welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen here, if that's all right. Let me know if you can see the presentation.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, again, my name is Michael Lubavitch. I am the project manager here for Kennedy Jenks, working on the Belfair Sewer Extension project. This has been a long time in the making here. So I have the pleasure of presenting this this update to you today. With this presentation mode, I can't see anyone's faces, so it's interesting just presenting to a presentation, a blank screen here. But
I think
anyway.
we should say you're welcome if you don't have to look at our faces. So.
Well, I'll go ahead and just get started here, but I want to take this back to the beginning. So as Loretta said, we're at a really important milestone in the project where we're about to advertise for construction bids. And so kind of revisiting where we started here in this project, I'd say almost 3 years ago. I think this started with a look at this the WashDOT's freight corridor, formerly known as the Belfair Bypass Project, and the idea that this freight corridor is going to enable more traffic to move through the area and encourage growth in the Belfair urban growth area. So with that, the county applied for and received some funding to work on a sewer extension project. So I just pulled a graphic from one of the early documents that were prepared before the design actually was started. And so the original concept, as you all recall, was let's find a way to partner with the local agencies. We have City of Bremerton that has the Puget Sound Industrial Center nearby, right across the county line. Also have the Port of Bremerton has their own sewer treatment system, their loss system. And the idea was, well, can we run a sewer line that's parallel to this freight corridor highway, and bring more customer, more service, more flow into the Belfair wastewater reclamation facility. So this is a graphic that was prepared early on in the project. You can see the existing infrastructure and then the new proposed highway in red, and this kind of tealish color would be the idea of the sewer system. So there were interlocal agreements made between those other agencies, and we kicked things off with actually a stakeholder goal meeting. So we had a couple workshops. We had some discussions with the different stakeholders in terms of what are the goals. As part of this project, kind of defining this project still, we have an idea of what we want to accomplish, big picture, but what are the other parties' goals in this project? And so for Mason County, it was really want to see what involvement the other local partners want to have in this project. And we also would like to maximize the use of our existing water reclamation facilities capacity. And so we have capacity to spare, and we'd like to see who's interested in partnering with us. So the city of Bremerton, their goal was to, they obviously have that Puget Sound Industrial Center that they are, required to show growth and continue growing. It's their industrial and manufacturing designated facility or area, so there's a pressure put on them to grow in some sustainable way. And so they were interested in exploring this project to see if they could defer maybe the development of their own water reclamation facility, which was part of their general sewer plan or comprehensive plan, and see if there was more cost effective to maybe send flows across the county line. The Port of Bremerton, they really wanted to defer expansion of their existing treatment plant. Again, there was a planning document back in 2012 that said that at some point in the future, they would have to replace that treatment facility with another water reclamation facility. So 2 MBRs were at one point planned to be installed in the Puget Sound Industrial Center. And so they were interested in not having to pay that cost. And so wanted to see what value there would be in again, connecting to the sewer system at Belfair. So as we got into the project, we kicked things off with alternatives evaluation. So understanding the different goals, the goals of the different agencies, what are the different many options we have for routing sewer from across the county line and getting it to the WRF. And if we were to put a long sewer line that paralleled the highway, what would that look like? So as we got into it, we developed several alternatives, had some workshops again with the stakeholders, and ultimately settled on what we called Alternative 4, which really is an option that maximized the use of existing infrastructure. So instead of running a sewer line that paralleled the highway, the idea would be to actually, well, why don't we run all the sewer as we're starting up flow as development is occurring on the north end, the eastern end of the UGA, and beyond the PSIC area. Why don't we start sending flow through the existing collection system, maximize the use of that of those assets, and then in the future, at some point, if it got to be we're at the point we're at capacity, then we can run a separate force main or pressure line from the Puget Sound Industrial Center to the WRF. And so the benefits of this were provide better operational flexibility. Construction can be phased again to serve near-term planned growth as well as the future long-term growth. It wasn't dependent on the WSDOT design, so we can kind of separate that interface between the WSDOT's project and this project, and it maximizes the use of the existing capacity that was already built, already constructed, and so maximizing the use of that infrastructure would have been a benefit. Originally, we were costing this project out at around 7.9 million. The construction project, the project included a little over 10,000 feet of force main and 4,600 feet of gravity sewer and 2 lift stations. So as we got into the pre-design, we continued to refine this alternative, and again, looking at what the timing of construction, timing of development we expect to occur in the urban growth area, in the Puget Sound Industrial Center. And so we decided that it would be best to phase this project into actually 3 phases. So the first phase, which is actually the project that we're going out to bid for here, is what you see in this reddish kind of salmon color, which includes an extension from the post office up through what is currently being constructed as, Olympic Ridge. I want to say it's the name, it's changed a couple times. Developments, crosses the railroad, the Navy's railroad tracks, and runs up through the UGA up to the northeastern portion, but staying south of Highway 3. In the future, there would be a second phase where Bremerton would construct a pump station and some combination of gravity and pressure main that would run sewer to the Belfair collection system. And then again, at some point, well into the future, once the capacity within the existing collection system has been met, City of Bremerton would construct a separate force main that would just run sewer directly to the WRF from their Puget Sound Industrial Center. That freed up more capacity within the collection system to be able to handle more growth within Belfair's urban growth area. So this phased approach we're talking about for phase 1, total construction costs come in around between 4.7 and 5.7 million dollars. Now, one thing that I'll mention is that lower half of that project, actually, we recently had some change of direction in terms of this project. The developer wanted to advance their construction ahead of our project, and so in order to achieve their construction timeline, we actually parceled off this portion of the work and put it on the developer to design. So they designed, and they're going to be building, and they are actually currently building this portion of the gravity sewer system. And so it's not going to be as part of this bid package. So I wanted to back up really quick. So what you see the difference between this construction cost and this anticipated bid cost is the value of that work. So whereas the total phase 1 construction cost is expected to be around between 4.7 and 5.7, this bid we're about to go up for is expected to come between 3.7 and 4.5 million dollars. So this phase 1 project includes about 860 lineal feet of force main, a little over 4,000 lineal feet of gravity sewer, and includes 1 lift station. So again, everything you see here in that reddish salmon color is what's included in phase 1. So I mentioned this Harbor Custom Development is currently constructing. I think they've constructed about half of this leg so far, and they're continuing to work on constructing this portion of the sewer. Their responsibility stops essentially at the Navy Beach Railroad tracks. So there is a permit application right now to cross under the Navy Railroad. Their review period takes about a year. In this case, it'll take a little longer than a year. That's what we're anticipating for them to review this and approve this this permit under their railroad. So with that, I'm sharing a couple photos here from the construction site. So as I mentioned before, that work is underway. If you were to drive to Belfair, the post office, and look up the hill, you'd probably see actually something more advanced than this. This is taken a few months ago, and construction moves pretty fast. So they are coating manholes. They're installing gravity sewer and taking it up to the top of the hill. So the design project that we will go out to bid here in the next few weeks, hopefully, pending, of course, commissioner approval, is what I'm showing here. This is a summary page taken from the bid documents, or the design documents, that shows the different sheets and essentially the extents of the project. So you can see from the railroad going east and northeast from there, across this frontage road. The pump station is going to be located here adjacent to this, I believe it's an existing church. And then the sewer extension continues up to Log Yard Road and crosses to the other side of Log Yard Road, so that any development that were to, any sewer extension that occurs in the future would not have to rip up the road itself. So as I mentioned, we're heading into the construction phase, which is denoted by this blue construction symbol, number 3. And here is the anticipated construction timeline. So assuming we get authorization to advertise in December, it's roughly a 3-month process to get the contractor notice to proceed. We're right in the sweet spot for the construction window. Getting them notice to proceed in March gives them time to procure and get ready for the dry season, where they can install the trenchless crossing under the railroad, the pump station, which require a deep excavation, and other portions of the sewer that also require deep excavation. So it's a nice time to be out there constructing, expecting substantial completion, or in this case, beneficial use of the facilities. So when we can actually receive flow through the sewer system by the end of February of 2023. With that, Are there any questions?
Thank you. Commissioner Schutte, would you like to start?
Yeah, I don't have any questions at the moment. So,
Okay. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. Appreciate the presentation. It answered some of my questions already, so I appreciate that.
Good.
I've got quite a few questions, Michael.
Okay. Lay them on me.
Okay. Some of them might be for Loretta, though. Loretta, let's see. What is the total expected build out of that phase up there for connections? How many do we expect that we can get with the current zoning?
For the entire extension, Commissioner?
Yes, if we're gonna, for the part we're looking at right there that he just brought up, the that first phase.
So in terms of, I don't know if I've got that in ERUs, but in terms of flow, Michael, that's
Can you get it for me in terms of
Yes.
ERUs, get it back to me, because it's important to know if we're talking about a $5 million investment, what kind of ERUs are possibly going to come out of it?
Yeah.
You know, to recoup and get it paid for again.
And Commissioner, would you like, I'm assuming you'll want that in terms of the different planned action EIS scenarios?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
That'll work for me.
Okay.
You don't have any permission from the Navy to go under the railroad yet, and that could take a year. You're thinking that could take over a year to get still, Michael?
Yeah, we submitted the application in, I want to say it was in January, and apparently the clock doesn't tick until they open the email. And so that happened in April of this year. So that's where I'm saying over a year. They said a year from when they opened the email is my understanding. And so by April of 2022, we should have that worked out.
And this is April of 2022. And this is normal for us to go out to bid and to build before we have permission?
It can occur this way. It can occur both ways. For this project here, we are anticipating, substantial completion until much later. So that gives us time to work through, the permit challenges or any kind of kinks or questions that the Navy might have. We have some language in the contract documents that basically say that the contractor cannot proceed with this portion of the work until the permit is received and provides all the information that we have about it. So I would say, in terms of the project itself, there would be some concerns if this delayed another 9 months. But this work can certainly happen. This crossing can certainly happen towards the end of the construction period.
Loretta, when does the MOU expire with the city and the port?
The MOU, I'll have to look at that, Commissioner.
Okay, please give me that.
Yep. And just to follow up on Michael's, the bid has been structured to schedule, anticipating that the permit would not be received until April, May. And we've had every indication that it should be issued, that there's not a concern. It's just a matter of getting through their process.
If we're doing some of this with the idea that we're working with the port and the city, how much has the port and the city invested in the construction of this project? Or are they invested in the construction of this project?
To date, the port has not contributed financially, and the city of Bremerton has participated in the financial analysis.
Okay, so is anybody offering any money towards construction?
We have not approached them, Commissioner, at this point.
Okay, what is the percent of the system that Bremerton or the port is asking for, percentage wise of the capacity of the system we have, and at what price are they offering to pay?
So Michael, would you like to give a quickie recap of the two scenarios that we evaluated in terms of potential methods of contributing?
Yeah, so there's I think two prevailing ways that we were looking at you know, divvying this project up in terms of that responsibility. There's the partnership approach where the city of Bremerton would pay a portion of the construction project as if they were, you know, a partner in that construction. And their need for this, from the analysis, they need I don't know in ERUs, but about roughly 600 gallons per minute, about half of the capacity line coming down as it crosses the railroad, as what compared to how much the county would want to reserve for themselves. So a little less than half, I think, is what it ended up being total. So that was one approach, is to have them pay for that portion of the project. I think the other approach, which they were more interested in, was the paying the capacity charge when they started connecting to the system. There's a certain amount of the project that they would be obligated to pay for up front to reserve that capacity, because if the county were to build it themselves, they wouldn't necessarily have sized it the way we have sized it. So there's a percentage of the construction cost that is attributed to upsizing the line, which they would be responsible for in this construction phase, and then they would pay a connection charge like any other customer when they started connecting. So those are the two scenarios that need to be worked out that were discussed to be worked out between the city of Bremerton and Mason County.
And so I guess my question is, the county and the area of Belfair have invested a huge amount of money, you know, aside from just a hookup charge. Has there been any conversation with the city of Bremerton or the port to pick up any of that? Or we just literally treat them as though they're part of the county and have already paid for part of this 54 after this $60 million plan?
Commissioners, we have not gone through any other additional analysis and or any discussion or decision making with the port and the city. So at this point, if there are other scenarios that we would like to evaluate, absolutely, we can get to work on that and come back to commission so that we can present those.
Well, if we're saying that this is one of the reasons why we're doing this, but we don't have any of that information, then why are we saying this is one of the reasons why we're doing this? I guess, but that's a comment. I'll leave that for another time. The next, has anybody had any conversations with the city of Bremerton or the port about only using this for their industrial and not allowing them to rezone and create a commercial retail core just above the county line and use our system to take away our tax base? Has there been any conversation with them at all on that?
No.
Okay. All right, those are, I still would like to know the actual number capacity that we're talking about giving them, the percentage of our capacity. If you could get that number to me for sure. Also, you know, if they're talking about taking 20, I know Loretta, you had mentioned at one point, but it was just an off number. You didn't say it for sure, up to 20% of our system. If that's the case, then there's a cost for 20% of that system, and it's not a $10,000 hookup charge.
Right.
So with that, those are my questions. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. You've got some great points that we can use to frame up and come back to commission for discussion.
Okay. Actually, one last one. Has there been any discussions of a UID to pay for this?
No, what we have had was conversation with the developer about a latecomer agreement for that portion that they are constructing or is under construction right now.
Yeah, they're paying for their own, so it'd be expected that they'd have a latecomer, just like if anybody was to build above it. Just for the record and the other commissioners, I can see a benefit in us getting them underneath the tracks. I think that's the job of a county. Not to build all of the rest of it for them. I expect they should do it just like this other contractor did. They should pay for their own infrastructure. But I do see that there's a need for the county to get it underneath the railroad tracks and put in a lift station. But that, again, is just my personal opinion. With that being said, any other comments from the commission?
Yeah, just two quick things, Loretta. Number one, in your analysis for the ERUs that Commissioner Netherland is asking for, are you going to do that against what is going to be the loan amount versus what is already being put into this via grant? So part of the construction is grant funded at this point still. So the difference in that between that and the full amount is the loan, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So I think it would be appropriate to do apples to apples there.
I would agree, Commissioner.
At that lower level. And then so it just, you know, knowing that there are some questions there that you're going to provide responses to, when would this come before us to release?
I think that we'll need at least a week to bring this information back to you, commissioners. I don't want to, that'll put some heat on us for sure. But I don't want to drag out our going out to add either. The clock's ticking on that. So at the latest 2 weeks, but I will do our best to push to get this back to you, back before you next week.
Great.
Anything else?
And then Commissioner Netherland, just a quick question. So the ULID, are you thinking that that would be for that portion of the extension? If you were to, let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. If the project was the complete package, the portion the ULID would apply to would be that would extend beyond the pump station? Or are you thinking for the entire project itself?
No, I guess I would, I honestly believe that our job is going to be to produce, get it under the tracks and get it at least a lift station on the other side of the tracks. I don't agree with putting us paying all the rest of it to get it over to some far distant land, but to get a lift station right there. I think anything other than that, I'd be looking at ULID. Just like we have happening down below, the people are paying for their own infrastructure that they're putting in. I think that that should be an opportunity, if not a requirement, for those that are up above as well.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I got the right, got the right scenario.
And then Loretta, I guess the other thing too, would your analysis will also take into account the differences in interest rate depending on when project is completed?
Yes, Commissioner. Thank you, Kevin, for, yes. As we discussed with Finance Committee last week, we'll look at the different scenarios for the loan as well.
Sharon, do you have anything to add or?
No, I think I'm good. I see Lisa on here. Was wondering if she had any comments or questions.
If that's the commissioner's request, Lisa, would you like to comment?
I don't have any comments right now. Obviously, the Finance Committee needs to be involved financing wise, and so we can make the best use of resources that we can in order to fund this. And so I just need those details fleshed out. So
could you send over a request for the different information you're going to need to make the best decisions for that and share that with the commission as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, is that everything, Michael?
It's everything for me.
Well, then we want to thank you very much for joining us today. And we look forward to getting that other information and seeing what we're going to do next.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael.
Loretta, do you have anything more for us?
I don't believe so at this time. Just lots of work between now and Monday.
Okay. What I have 10:25. Well, then we thank you very much, Loretta. And Jennifer, are you ready to go early?
I'm ready.
Okay, commissioners, do you need a break?
Good.
Okay, then let's go ahead and move on to our next portion, which is our 2022 budget workshop with Jennifer, please.
Thank you, commissioners. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And before we start, I just want to say that today is November 22nd, and it is exactly 2 weeks before our first opportunity to adopt the budget. And so the detailed and summary budgets were required to have those available to the public today. So those will be posted online, and then any changes made today, I'll hopefully have those in there. And then any changes made between after today and December 6th, when we go to adopt, I'll state those changes. So I just wanted to make that public. So with that, any questions on that whole process before we begin? Okay.
Nope, I don't see any.
Thank you.
Where'd Kevin go? There he is. Okay. Thanks, Kevin. I wish they'd let us move a person up so I can keep an eye on him. Just for the public, that's only because if he looks like he wants to speak, it's nice to be able to see it and catch it. So that he needs to be kept an eye on.
I agree. Okay, so on the 2022 proposed budget for the general fund, we have beginning fund balance 21,500,000 as an estimated beginning fund balance. For our total revenues, we have $40,903,106 at this time. For our salaries and benefits, we have expenditures $29,812,716. Our operating expenditures $13,670,439, excuse me. And our proposed ending fund balance is $18,919,951. The total expenditures over revenues at this point is $2,580,049. So that's what would be used out of our ending fund balance in this budget.
Jennifer, before you go forward, I just want to clarify something for myself. If it was passed today with this 2.5 million over expense over revenue, are you saying our ending fund balance would be 18 million, basically $19 million ending fund balance with all the reserves and everything packed in?
Yes.
Thank you.
That is correct. You're welcome. So I'm going to move on to the special funds, and then we'll come back to the general fund. So on the special funds, and this one doesn't show the beginning fund balance and the ending fund balance. So I'm going to go to the sheet that shows that. So we have, for the special funds, a total beginning fund balance of $36,962,796. Total revenues $74,783,202. For total revenue $111,745,998. Total salaries and benefits $13,444,962. Total operating expenditures $71,122,319. Ending fund balances of $27,178,717 for total operating expenditures and ending fund balances of $98,301,036. And then the total budget for other funds, special and other funds, $111,745,998, which balances with the total revenues. And the grand total of all funds, 174, including the general fund, $174,149,104 in both beginning or revenues and expenditures. Any questions on this so far?
Nope, I see none.
Okay. So going back to current expense, So commissioners, you had asked me for the one-time expenditures, and at this point, I have total grant revenue in the general fund of $2,364,789. So assuming that that is the same on the expenditure side, we have at least that amount in expenditures that would be offsetting that grant revenue. So $2,364,789. We have IT equipment, which does include all of our computers that are being replaced. So take that with a grain of salt. $197,509 or our IT equipment. And then the capital for the vehicles, the upfits for one time would be about $268,000. And that's assuming that we are replacing 7 vehicles on a normal year. And in this budget, we have more vehicles than that in this budget due to just timing, getting our fleet updated. So we have about $268,000 in excess in this year that I would account as a one-time expenditure. And we also have in this budget, in the Child Support Enforcement Department, 185, we have 37,000 of expenditures in that department. That's also in the prosecutor's office, and that's because of the offsetting grant revenue that may or may not come in. So that's kind of a doubled up expenditure in there, just to play it safe, I guess. So I would include that as a one-time expenditure. So that brings the total to about $2,867,298 that could be counted as a one-time expenditure.
Thank you, Jennifer. Just so you know, for myself, I'm not considering grant in, grant out as one-time expenditure. The reason why I'm saying that is I'm looking to find what things change that number for expense over revenue that's just going to be spent one time. But if it's expense and revenue, then it doesn't change that number in my mind. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. What I'm hoping to find is money in the budget. For example, we just agreed to put in, I think it was 50,000 for the district court for the judge pro tempore. I expect that that's one time, and I don't think it. I think we should flag it in the budget to make sure that expansion of that service is one time, and that would be a one-time expenditure without extra revenue coming in, and that would bring this number down, to 2.530. That's just what, and I'll do some of my own work on that too. I don't expect you to do all that, but I'm just letting you know that that's what I was looking for and hoping to find, because if it's revenue in, that doesn't change that expense over revenue number, in my opinion, in any real manner.
No, I was reaching, and
I appreciate that.
The other thing that's not included in here is the approximate 300,000 that Commissioner Trask identified as COVID expenditures. So, I mean, that could be considered as part of our one-time, but I didn't state that for this purpose. Honestly, I did this in about 10 minutes this morning. The majority of my time has been spent on, figuring out the property tax levies, the ARPA, and then getting the detailed revenue and expense ready to post on the website.
And you've been great about getting me all this stuff. I'd like to ask that you give me a roll up, including your comments of what you moved over to maintenance. you do wonderful at that when I'm looking at your sheets that you present for us. If I could get a roll up of it that has those same comments, I can go through and look myself and see what areas I might feel more comfortable with. Again, I do expect that we do need to move some of this ending fund balance from a 21 million to the 19 million. I do believe that we need to do that, but I'd sure like to know in my own head how much of it is one time and how much of it is got a bow wave that I have to worry about for the future or other commissioners have to worry about.
Okay, so you want a roll up of my comments and the department comments. Okay, I can send that to you.
Thank you.
And all three commissioners. Okay, so some of the other things that I want to go over are the changes that are included in here. So we had eliminated the HR administrator and manager positions and then replaced with the HR director position. And so that was a savings in this budget for the general fund under HR, Department 057 of $64,904.
But that does not reflect what we're looking at now for the budget expense or revenue?
That is reflected in here.
Okay. Thank you.
In here. You're welcome. And another change in the FTEs, there's a personnel and risk analyst position that I had allocated to Public Works and dispersed that position, that FTE out amongst all of their funds. And that position is supervised by the HR director, but funded by the Public Works funds. So I moved that position to HR. So it's shown in here. So we did have, 4 FTEs last year. I had shown it as 5 because we had the 2 HR administrator and manager positions in there. So we had increased that by 1 FTE. Well, now it's increased by still the 1 FTE, showing that personnel and risk analyst position in here.
And that does include for our books that we're looking at, the revenue coming in from Public Works.
It does, yes.
Okay.
Well, and it's actually not revenue coming in, it's actually just the expense. That position is actually paid out of those funds directly. So it's not included in our internal allocation. It's actually when this position gets paid, that position is paid out of those funds. So it's shown as an expense.
Okay, so it's paid out of those funds, meaning the public work funds?
Yes.
Okay, but if it's shown on our expense, they should also somewhere, we should see a revenue.
So it's not shown under our expense. Just
okay, I got you.
So it's a $0 change.
Okay, I have you now. Thank you.
I know it's a very confusing concept to show the position there, but no expenditure there.
No, that's all right, as long as it's because you'll cover it in the other budget in public works. So that's all fine as long as we know that.
Okay. And go ahead and stop me, commissioners, at any time if you have questions or comments. District Court, Department 100, we included the administrator reclass. That's $17,130. So that's included in this number here. Also under District Court, we had increased the judge pro tem. We had increased that by $89,478, and we went ahead and reduced that to $45,000. So that's included in this number as well.
Are you able to flag it so we'll know to take that out for next year's budget?
Yes, I can do that in the detailed budget. Yes.
Before I say it, commissioners, is that what you understood as well? Or am I speaking out of turn?
No, that's what I understood.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, please highlight it so we know that that is not an ongoing, but instead a one-time payment.
Okay. I will do that. In Department 300, non-departmental, we had added 500,000 to revenue and also 500,000 to expense for the CDBG, CB1, and CB2 grant. So that's all that I have for the general fund to go over. The rest has to do with special and other funds.
Commissioners, any questions at this point?
Not right now.
Not right now.
Okay. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, so moving on to the special funds. And commissioners, do you prefer to look at this sheet that has the beginning fund balance separated out and ending fund balance, or I have this format as well that shows the difference between the 2021 adopted and 2022 proposed with the variance here?
I don't have a particular preference, whatever is easier for you to convey what you need to.
Okay. I'll just stay on this sheet then if you have a preference, Commissioner Trask. No. Okay. Okay, so in Fund 117, I had a request from Todd Parker to add $92,764.22, which would be rounded up to 765. To beginning fund balance and then expenditures for a refund from Indeedwell as a tentative thing to add. I didn't hear back, so I did not add that in to either beginning fund balance or expenditures. So that may be coming as a request later on this week. I'm not sure, but I had it on my list of things to address.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, who are you waiting? Are you waiting for us or from?
For the community services department, they're receiving a refund and they had said that they may be asking to include it in their expenditures for next year. I didn't hear anything from them and I forgot to flag it. So
okay, so you're not waiting on us to make a decision, you're waiting on some information from them. Okay.
I know. Fund 141, the sheriff's boating program, we had added 8,800 to revenue and expense for a grant that they received. So that's included in there now. Under Fund 150, we added $107,939 to revenue for COVID cares, and then $107,939 to expenditures under salaries and benefits for the temporary public health nurse. And that was a question from last time, whether or not they had additional grant funding, and yes, they do. So just wanted to let you know that that does not need to come out of ending fund balance. Yay. So that's good. Fund 150, again, health. I added $7,167 to the beginning fund balance to cover the non-union across the board increase. And so their ending fund balance is now 0. That's something from a couple meetings ago that I forgot to address. So I just wanted to let you know that. And then in the utility funds, Fund 411, 412, and 413, we added in the ARPA expenditures that were addressed last Monday. 200,000 in the Russellwood Fund, 150,000 in Beards Cove, and 330,000 in Belfair Sewer. And that's all that I have to talk to you about.
That's it. We get no more. What was that old thing? No soup for you 3 days.
I mean, unless you have anything else that you want me to address.
Commissioner Trask, let's start with you. What do you got?
You know, I don't have anything right now. I think I'd like to see if we can make the 300,000 ARPA eligible, or see what is ARPA eligible. You know, that helps a little bit. But Jennifer, you're awesome. You are so detailed and so full of information, and you can put it into terms that I understand. So I truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schutte, you're next, but the rule is you have to start with the same compliments that Commissioner Trask ended with.
I think that's fair. Great work, Jennifer. Appreciate the detail that you put into this. You know, so I guess, you know, my two questions. The ARPA group did meet last week. Did you all discuss Commissioner Trask's list at all at that meeting?
We didn't. We discussed revamping the spreadsheet, and then just making sure we had included everything that was previously accounted for on that spreadsheet, and then anything that had been approved by board action. But we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is I think that's what we were hoping for, that there would be some discussion there about where those would fit in potentially, and that kind of thing. At least that's the way that I recall it. If I'm wrong, then that's fine, but I just was curious. So then the other
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We just ran out of time on that.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. You're up against a time crunch for sure. You know, then the other question, or maybe more of a comment, or both, I guess, that I have, is taking a look at your current expense variance table. You know, going down to the bottom when you remove beginning fund and ending fund balance, that I think that's the tail, you know, the tape, so to speak. You know, and so we did have you know, decent revenue growth this past year, or projecting, you know, decent revenue growth, 3.5%. You know, but you look at the expenditures minus the beginning and ending fund, and you see growth at, you know, 6.4, a little bit over 6.4%. And so your difference there is about 3%. You know, and so one of the things that I think is really important for us to keep in mind, if we're going to, you know, maybe we buy back a little bit through ARPA, maybe we look at you know, truing up some of those numbers, but, you know, heading into next year, you know, that forecasting, at some point it's going to tip, you know, where we eat into our fund balance to a rate where it gets below, you know, our financial policies threshold, you know, at that 15%, and that we might have a few years if trends continue before we see that tipping point, as Commissioner Netherland and I recall from not too long ago, you know, what that feels like. And so, you know, I guess my ask to you and Mark heading into next year is to really do some analysis on that, you know, and create some milestones for us. You know, if we do end up spending at the rate that we are this year, you know, I think that is you know, I think that should be a flag for us that, you know, mid-year, as we know, we'll get more requests for staffing. We're going to get more requests to do programmatic things. All of them, I'm sure, are justifiable to those departments and important to those departments in the community. You know, but the path that we're on, where we're adding throughout the year and then adding again at the budget, is probably not sustainable over a long period of time. Fortunately, we have a decent fund balance right now, but there is a tipping point, and you start to see it with that bottom line, where we're spending more than when we're taking in percentage wise on growth.
I prefer that we handle hiring and bringing on personnel through budget personally. That's just, I know we have been adding during the year, but that's supposed to be what the budget is for. I'd lean more heavy towards creating positions during budget time only than I would more through the year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think this year, I think we were, you know, I'll speak, you know, maybe just for myself here, and you all can certainly add your own 2 cents, but I think we were a little bit undisciplined throughout the year. We saw some opportunities and took them. And that has an accumulating effect when we get into this time of year, because we know that there are always going to be requests, and it's just, we're trying to keep the long-term memory intact. But going forward, that's probably not a sustainable approach.
I would agree, except that this year when it came to the building department, the revenues were just so great and the workload was so great, we had to do something during that to expend that money as well. So I definitely, I don't apologize on that one. I think on the health, we had a little bit of a blip there because we had that money coming in for specific duties.
Yeah, and I think there is a distinction to be made between positions that are coming with revenue.
Yeah.
And I think that's certainly the case over in DCD where we've made those additions. I mean, they have positions that the work pays for itself, in that regard. And so, but there were a couple of others where, there are a hit to the general fund, at least, short term, that probably ideally we would punt on until this time of year.
Yeah. And this year we'll have to work on that a little more to do that. I agree. Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, no, I agree too. And I think there was an influx of money with the COVID revenues and also expenses and bodies that were needed for the COVID team. So I think, some of those bodies were agreed to for that team, but knowing that they would be here for a temporary basis or on a temporary basis also. So I think it's very wise to keep an eye on how many people are requesting additional bodies, because they're going to request them again next year. So I think it's a good thing to keep an eye on, and I really do look forward to our HR director coming on so that person can take a look at, are those bodies truly needed, and is it a promotion? Is it a reclass? So many unknowns, I guess. I don't have an HR degree, so having somebody with a little bit of little more knowledge on that one would help me a lot too.
All right, Jennifer, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, Mark and I have talked about getting together and doing some more analysis. Right now, I mean, I feel like he's hit the ground running, and we'll have more time after the budget's adopted to do that analysis and hopefully give you some helpful information on that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we go, Mark Neary, is there anything that you would like to add to this discussion?
Oh yeah, there's lots I'd like to add, and that's coming. That's something that Jennifer and I have been talking about in terms of how do we present the information and really interpret it, right? I think that's the important part of when we look at what did we budget our beginning fund balance for 2022 to be, and where is it actually coming in at? And when you see pretty significant increases, I think it was close to $6 million. What's behind that, right? So those are the types of that's the type of information that Jennifer and I will bring to the board as we move into the future to just kind of better understand that, right? Because if we're consistently budgeting to spend more than we're going to bring in, then that's not sustainable. But when we look at it after the fact and we see that we actually, our beginning fund balance increased, having some detail as to why it increased, I think is super important for all of us to understand the financial picture of our general fund.
Agreed. All right, commissioners, anything further on this?
Well, just a real quick comment to Mark. When I first became a commissioner, it was, you're drinking out of a fire hose, but each fire hose has a different flavor. So, and you're being hit by quite a few different fire hoses. I appreciate you being here and you and your knowledge too.
Oh, we have an amazing team here that you guys have created. So I feel fortunate to become a part of that. Thank you.
Okay, if that's it for our budget workshop, we'll go into commissioner discussion. Is there any discussion, commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. We adjourn till tomorrow. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
Aye.
Thank you.